Hello everyone. Again, it's me. And this time the difference is I'm not only gonna present myself, I'm also gonna talk about Larp crash and how to suffer less. When I saw this title of my own presentation, it was line break was after suffer, and I think it's still a fitting title, just how to suffer. Okay, I'm Marta. I'm a Larper with 10 years of experience, but I've been mostly a player. Only recently I started designing my own game, which is gonna run next month. And as far as the crashes go, I also have 10 years of experience on that, on both sides of the equation, the suffering and also the limerent object. And if we were playing a romance plot before, then I can assure you 100% I'm feeling a little bit different about you now. If we weren't playing a romance game before, you just wait. I just realized I have to switch slides myself too. Okay. Limerence. This is basically just a fancy word to say having a crush. But this is also a dictionary definition of what it is, how it feels like to be really obsessed about somebody, to be tormented by the very frequent thoughts of that person, to have this burning need to have reciprocated feelings. I have to read that, by the way, because, well, LARPs teach me how to improvise, but I'm still not that good at it. I mean, 10 years is just not enough. When you're limerent, your mood depends on the other person's actions. When you're limerent, you feel the shyness, you feel blushing, you feel like your knees are shaking. And you also look at your limerent object with rose-tinted glasses. And just the pure intensity of that feeling, it's not something that happens every day, but once you are in limerent state, it just owns the whole life. Those few weeks that you are in this limerent state, it's just something completely different. And I mentioned limerence objects. Limerence objects are just people that you have crush on. And objects is there for a reason, because those people are really objectified by you in a sense, because you don't really think about them as the other person. You have just this, well, pretty memory of them, the pretty memory of character they played. Because the thing about limerence is it can happen in real life, like every day, but LARPs create perfect environment for limerence. So we go to LARPs to feel all sorts of emotions, to feel things that are different from regular life, to feel the dopamine rush, to feel adrenaline, and also to do those human connections. So this is oxytocin. Okay, that's adrenaline. Now that's oxytocin. And those are two things that are taking over our brains. And those, well, these are just chemicals. And when you say you have chemistry with somebody, it's just that. It's literally that. Because there are two things that have two major aspects of limerence. So one is the whole neuroscience thing, and the other one is behavioral psychology. So neuroscience, you can't really control that. That just happens. Once you're into that, when your brain is just completely committed to a feeling. Well, been there, done that. You can't really do much about the brain chemistry part, but you can do a lot to the behavioral psychological part. And those two parts, they really influence one another. The way you behave, it just makes your brain produce more happy hormones. The more happy hormones, the more likely you are to do stupid shit. Let's put it this way. So you can't control that. You can control your behavior. And the second part of this presentation, after you hopefully understand what limerence is and isn't, is going to be about what to actually do and what you should avoid. I have a crush, what do I do? So first of all, you identify your feelings, you identify all of the thoughts that are going through your head at the moment. You can also kind of identify your type. And I'm going to read it again, because there are so many different types of people you can have crush on. And they have a lot in common. They have the very big aspect that they have in common, which is those personality types create a lot of false hopes. It can be done in so many different ways, and it can be a bad boy who's, well, you hope that he'll turn good for you. This can be a femme fatale who you're hoping it's not gonna hurt you this time. This can be somebody who is broken and you're hoping to fix them. This can be a flirt, so a person who's just flirting with everyone, and once you realize, well, it's not only with you, it's with everyone, those hopes really do shatter. There is a type that all of us can be, and actually that's you should be the most careful about. It's somebody who's really has good intentions, but they are really just looking for a little bit of attention and just stroking their ego in a nice way, and we can all do the same mistake, so please just avoid doing that. It can be the artist, like person who is so out there, so free, that you just immediately fall in love with them. There could be the confident person, the person playing the main character in a game. It's just so easy to fall for them. There can be a person who can keep you as a backup of sorts. So then you have those hopes that it's gonna be alright, it's gonna be the best case scenario. It not always is. There's, oh, my favorite, my crazy hot ex, the bipolar one. Yes, it's always also about the hopes. It's the hope that it's gonna get better. It's this hook and sink. There's also this type about, well, please go and save me. And this gives you hopes for having a chance at saving them. Well, the hopes is exactly what we are trying to avoid. Because our brains are wired in this way that when we have the hope and we feed it just a little bit, we kind of fire this hope, it just makes things so much more difficult for us. Okay, so if you have a crush, what can you do? And this is the slide when you can take out your phones and actually take a picture, or for the people on the stream, just make a screenshot. It's gonna come in handy one day, you don't even know when. So once you identify what's your type, you can decide what to do about it. And the first point is the most important and also the most universal. You just kind of always have to remind yourself about that. Love yourself first. This other person doesn't matter. They weren't in your life yesterday. They might not be there tomorrow, but you're gonna be in your life for the majority of it. You just slowly go ahead and identify how you feel. Ask yourself this question. Do you really want to go through that? Do you really want to fall for that person? Is it the fictional character that we are talking about, or is it the actual player? That's also super important distinction, because a lot of times it's just a fictional character, and then you just feel stupid about falling for a character that doesn't really exist. So you gotta remind yourself that it's all good writing, some brain chemistry, and a nice costume, and it's not that person. It's really just the scenario team behind the game. And I did a lot of interviews with people that I know from international Larpers community, and I asked them about time frames of that. So majority of them realized that the first 2 weeks are definitely the most important, the hardest. And this is coincidentally as much as the regular LARP bleed lasts, because LARP crush is just more intense version of that LARP bleed that we all know. So those 2 weeks, you can use them. You can use them to your own good, to fuel your creativity, to create just something new, to think about your own life and figure out what's good for you. It may be a good time to pick up new hobbies. Sometimes those hobbies are, well, enabling you to see the specific person that you want to see. But it's also good just to use this fuel for something new. What you can also do in a more practical way, and if you identify you don't really want to fuel this limerence, you don't want to go through it, you don't want to waste a few months of your life just being so focused on one specific person, well, the first thing, and it is going to hurt, it's to break the contact. And if you do that soon enough, if you don't stalk them on Facebook, if you don't ask your friends, how is this person doing, if you stop messaging them, it's going to be easier later on. What you can also do is spoil your own dream. So just imagine that person throwing dirty socks all over their apartment. We all do that. We just don't, those rose-tinted glasses don't make us realize that this is the case. And maybe if you decide that this is a good idea, and if this other person is very open and they value the open communication, you can also talk with them about your feelings, and also don't give them any false hopes, and ask them for a precise answer. Is this a yes or a no? But this is the hard part. So this you only do if you're sure you actually want to confront that person. Okay, so if you're limerent like me, so a person who just crashes very easily, this is something that resonates with you. If you don't, if you're just kind of person who has friends who are limerent, this next part might be a little bit more interesting. So oftentimes people who go for Larp crash, it's just so random, so intense, they want to share that feelings with other people. With their closest friends, with their other LARPers that have been to the game, that know the character that they may have fall for. So again, this is the time and place to take pictures, take screenshots, and just approach it slowly with patience. And the same rule is actually in place. Love yourself first. Set your own boundaries. You can be there for your friend, but just, well, don't change your whole lifestyle because the other person suddenly fell in love. Like, you know, this is the common drill. Help them assess what kind of crush this is. Is this another tall blonde guy with a Viking vibe that they're falling for? Is there another type that is just happening again and again? Be realistic about their crush. Because, well, of course, your friend sees them through the rose-tinted glasses. You absolutely don't have to. You can just mention all of the negatives that you see about that person. It's just going to make it easier on them. So they're going to thank you for that later. Just remind them about those socks and other stuff. Also, this is something that is very LARP specific because we tend to not all of us tend to fall for fictional characters. This is a common thing for LARPers, for people who read a lot of fan fiction, who watch a lot of movies. But the unique thing about LARP is that there is a actual real person that you also know, and it's behind the character. And we really have to focus on separating this fictional person and the real one. So just reminds your friends about this again and again and again. It's like a broken record. If you happen to know their crush, and if it's this kind of situation when your friend is asking you about the person that you also know, and you know that person is unavailable, is married, is just not interested at all, just let them know, because that's another thing that's gonna make them suffer a little bit less and not have those hopes that they have. And the last point, well, it's again about leaving the dirty underwear on the floor. It just makes them more human. It helps with the separation between the character and the person behind that. And there's one more point to that. What if someone's got a crush on me? What do I do then? You don't always know that. So, time to take pictures, screenshots. But once you do have either a hint of that, or they told you specifically, they contacted you, they had the courage to contact you and say you that, and it takes a lot of balls to say it in somebody's face. You shouldn't give them any false hopes. And this is in bold. This is the most important aspect of this whole presentation. This is a mistake I did a few times, and it just always ended in such a mess. It's definitely not worth it. And I did it completely by accident. If somebody told me that before, well, it would have been so much easier for so many people around. If you're unavailable, just state it clearly in a gentle manner, and that's actually the simplest, the most effective thing you can do. I like you as a friend. This is such a common sentence, but it also has so much value in itself. Yeah, I like you as a friend. Just remember that phrase. If somebody is having a crush on your character, this is an amazing testimony to your LARPing skills, because you managed to create like the full persona around you, a persona that is also so lovable, so attractive to other people. So yeah, that's a great compliment. You can use that to stroke your ego. You don't necessarily want to use the other person's feelings to feel better about yourself. And there's one more thing which you can use just to make it a little bit easier on them. Is just to do something embarrassing or say something embarrassing. Just make yourself look more human. Just stop being this perfect character, this perfect persona. At the beginning of every relationship that we have, not only relationship as a romantic one, it's just as being friends and just meeting somebody as a new acquaintance. We tend to present the perfect version of ourselves. Let's just skip that. Like, they don't really need that perfect version anymore. They're already there. So yeah, just be very straightforward about who you are, why you're not the perfect knight in the perfect silver armor. I was hoping this presentation would be like super intimate, 5 people around me, definitely no streaming. So I was hoping for a little bit of time for questions. Do you have any? Do you feel like some of that just resonates with you? You can raise your hand if you don't want to speak up. Thank you very much.
Better if you use the mic.
Okay, yeah. So I really appreciate that you included the one "What should I do when my friend has a crush?" Because what I found, like, yeah, we talk about bleed a lot when we call it bleed. I like your version better. What I figured that works for me or work for our group is to talk to other people to realize that you're not the only one, and yeah, this is the little one bit that could help us, like, okay, you're not the only one going through this, and okay, how can I help you from the outside, being the lucky one, not me going through this one at the moment. So yeah, thank you for including that, because I never really thought of that aspect. It's something very evident, but also very useful. So I really appreciate and thank you for that.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Came to my mind. Because you mostly said what to do after the LARP when you have a crush. Are there some things you should do or not do during the LARP if you feel crush on someone?
It's the same principle about hope and false hope specifically. If you think that you're falling for somebody, you only really have like, so this is again from the interviews that I've been running, you only have 2 days to actually react, and then those brain chemistry hormones, they just start to take over. So yeah, it's better to act quick. It's the same principles really, so just not think of them as this perfect version of this person. It's just a role. It's just the same kind of role that you're taking on during the game. During the game, I'm not sure. I don't have an easy answer because it sometimes may be interesting. It might give you a chance to live through that feeling in a safe environment. But if you think that could be too hard on you, then yeah, it probably would be wise and safe to stop. I know that's so disappointing. Sorry.
When we posted the portal program on different LARP groups a few weeks ago, there was immediately a question concerning your point of program, and it was, why do they want to suffer less?
Actually, very good question. Yes. I don't know. It's just a switch in your brain that sometimes makes you want to suffer more and sometimes suffer less. If you're the one that wants to suffer less at this specific moment in time, then this is a presentation for you. If you don't want to suffer less, you just want to suffer because you're into that, well, who am I to stop you?
I think when it comes to that, and we have to decide if we want to actually go through this crush or not, we also have to take into consideration the other person that will, in some form, probably be affected by that. And of course, it can be nice to basically live through a short crush on a person that doesn't exist anymore after 2 weeks. But if something spills over, as it tends to do in LARP through bleed, and the other person is affected as well, then we have to take that into consideration as well, and then it gets messy. So, of course, yeah, we play LARPs because we want to feel stuff, but we have to check ourselves occasionally to see if we're overdoing it, if we're going too far, or if we're actually pulling someone else into it who doesn't want it.
That's awesome. I mean, that's an amazing point of view. Somebody behind you want to use the mic too.
Hi, just wanted to share that I have the personal experience while playing a LARP to be my character to be completely like in limerence with another character and to be completely not enamored with them out of game. So that is something that I got like the hormonal rush you're talking about, but for my character. It was very strange experience because basically you're splitting your brain in two. So when you go out of game, you completely know that that person is not basically you're not affected to them. But while I was in game, I really let that feeling go. It was really nice. Also, in my personal life, I'm completely stricken with my girlfriend, and while we play LARP together, it happens so that my character is completely not interested in hers. So that is something that could happen as well. So my idea is for LARPers to really, when you're playing a character, to make the distinction, is it you or is it your character that is having these feelings? And that is very, very important.
Absolutely, and that's also going to make this behavioral part of the limerence so much easier. Because the brain chemicals, it's not like you actually divide your brain between characters and yourself, but you can absolutely divide the behavior that you're doing. So if you have the behavioral part down, then you're like already successful.
Do you think that we as organizers... yeah, can you hear me? Okay, so do you think that we as organizers, especially the, let's say, flirting LARPs like World of Darkness LARPs, should inform people before the LARPs about things that they may fall in love in characters, and inform that they should look separately as for a player and their character.
Absolutely. So I'm organizing a game right now, and it's a game about romancing, about flirting, about marriages. This is basically the dream Regency romance. So I did a guide for new players, but also for the players returning but new to this specific topic. So it is mentioned that it is just LARP bleed. Some of the contents of this presentation is there. I just shared it with them. Also, safety person. More than one, even. Safety people are doing amazing job, and after the game, especially after a difficult one, they just constantly on their phones because people are going through bleed, they're going through crashes, they're going through both positive and negative feelings, and we should be aware of that, that we want to make it easier for them to stop the bleed. Somebody on this side, you've been more quiet. Okay, thank you very much.